Someone on Instagram gave me a great idea, so I'm going to do the top 5 most dangerous animals on each continent, starting with Africa. Also follow me on Instagram and DM me ideas. At number 5, what would happen if you gave a Honda Civic a horn and personality disorder? You'd get the Black Rhinoceros, a 3,000-pound vibe check. The reason they're so dangerous is because they're basically blind, so they charge at anything that moves. Number 4 are hyenas because they have jaws that can amputate a rhino and they can chase you down for miles. They have a merc rate of 74%, so if they come after you, your life movie just hit the credits. And they can run in clans with 80 members. Number 3 is the bull elephant because when they enter a state called musk, they gain a personality of an over-aggressive frat boy and a 15,000-pound body, with 2 life-canceling tusks. And there is not a more destructive force than an angry elephant thinking with his 5th leg. Number 2 are mosquitoes because they take 1 million names off the census every year. When she drinks your blood, she can transmit malaria, which reduces your blood's ability to carry oxygen. Number 1 ain't even a debate. Most animals won't give you problems if you respect their space. Hippos massacre people unprovoked. They can't do math, but they have a bite that can divide you or a crocodile in half. At least 500 obituaries get written a year because the hippo had a temper tantrum. They've been known to swallow people whole, and they don't need Red Bull to give you wings.
What is something you found out late in life that you should have known earlier but you just didn't?
This isn't for me, but apparently there's a lot of people that don't really understand the idea of evolution, so I'm going to use giraffes as an example. People say giraffes evolved long necks. It doesn't mean that they grew over time to help them reach higher leaves. What it means is a long time ago there were giraffes with short necks, medium necks, and the PNB rocks of the giraffe world. The long necks had an advantage over the short necks and could reach food that the others couldn't. This advantage meant they had a better chance of reproducing and a better chance of passing on the long neck genes. At the same time, vertically challenged giraffes had less opportunities to mate, which meant less short giraffes in the next generation. This process would occur generation after generation until there were nothing but long necks left because the short necks couldn't keep up. And this wasn't a quick process, it took millions of years for giraffes to get this way. But evolution doesn't mean that all giraffes had short necks and they grew together as a group. Just that life was better to taller giraffes, and after thousands of generations, they were all that's left. It's like if girls decided to only date tall guys. After millions of years, every guy would be tall, but not because the human race had a growth spurt, but because the short guys got hoed by life and couldn't pass on their genes. Good thing girls aren't like that though. So someone on Instagram dared me to ruin horses, and I wasn't going to do it because the horse community is a community I want zero, actually negative smoke with. But then he said, "You won't, on God." And because this young man decided to invoke the name of the Lord in my Instagram DMs on a Sunday afternoon, I am choosing verbal violence. Trigger warning in 3, 2, 1. Those are what the hooves of a baby horse look like, and if it makes you uncomfortable, you are not alone. Those horse feathers are eponychium, and it's a soft capsule that protects the mother's uterus and birth canal from the sharp hooves of her baby. There is no protecting your sanity though, because looking at this too long makes me want to take a shower. They wear off once the horse foal starts walking, but what doesn't wear off is the mental anguish of anyone seeing this for the first time. And while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and trigger y'all again. If you're not hiding in the comments, you might want to do it now. That is a horse with a degloved hoof, and it's when an entire part of the hoof detaches, leaving it without a cap. This happens when the horse gets their hoof caught on something like a cattle guard. It's like tearing your toenail, but times 1,000. Horses can survive this, but it's one of the most severe injuries they can get. I didn't want to do this to y'all, but when you challenge me on Instagram, this is what happens. Someone in my group chat said I couldn't ruin meerkats, and all I can say is, you asked for this. Also, if you want to join the group chat, the link's in my bio. Meerkat society is female dominated, and if the alpha female finds out one of her subordinates had a baby, she'll attack the female, murk the baby, banish the female, and sometimes eat the baby to prove the point. Sometimes she punishes them by forcing them to become the wet nurse for her own children. Basically, imagine your psycho boss put your child on a shirt and then force you to breastfeed her children as payback. They will torture scorpions with no intention of eating them. They'll tear off the stinger and then go about their day, and in case you didn't know, if a scorpion loses that, it dies of severe constipation. They smell like a public park bathroom because they mark their territory by constantly pissing all over the place and excreting a nasty smelling paste from their tails. Lion King lied to you because yes, they'll eat bugs, but they'll also eat snakes, scorpions, spiders, and a very unlucky rabbit. They're responsible to multiple injuries to zookeepers, especially the new ones, because they'll take one look at them, think they're cute the same way women used to do with Ted Bundy, and get mauled as a result. A German zoo banned phones around meerkats because people kept trying to take selfies and kept getting attacked. Meerkat society is so homicidal that if 5 meerkats are born, only 1 will be alive in a year. The rest get done dirty the way Disney does parents. Always seem to get comments like this, so here are the top 4 reasons why Megalodon is 100% dead. Number 1, we've discovered 20% of the ocean, and the only place they can live without us knowing is the bottom of the ocean. Only problem is, as a warm water shark, not only would the cold put the Meg out of commission, there'd be no place for them to breed. One of the whole reasons they died is because when the ocean cooled, their range shrunk. Number 2, they'd never have enough food to survive. As a 60-foot, 40-ton shark, Megalodon would have needed a disrespectful amount of food, and not only did its regular victims get smaller and faster, great white sharks ran the table and left them nothing but a plate of disappointment. They starved to death then, and they starve to death now. Number 3, if by some force of nature a shark the length of a bowling lane was still around, either its dead body would wash ashore or its teeth would pop up at the animals it ate. The giant squid spends its entire life at the bottom of the ocean, and we still know they exist for this exact reason. Plus, playing Where's Waldo with a 60-foot nuclear submarine with teeth wouldn't last that long. If they were still alive, we would know. And number 4, they're just outdated. The Meg lived in a time where nature was on drugs and everything on Earth was on steroids because of higher oxygen content. But when nature switched up and animals got smaller, the Meg got left behind. They just needed too much food and it wouldn't be fast enough to get it, so like an episode of Family Guy, Meg would take an L. Animal myths that you believe because you were a dumb little kid, just like me. Cats don't always land on their feet, it depends on the height they fall, and it turns out the higher they fall, the less injuries they get. A study in New York showed that cats that fall from 7 to 32 stories suffered less injuries than cats that fell from 2 to 6 stories. More airtime means more time to make adjustments. But it makes you wonder how many cats got yeeted for science. Bats aren't blind, a lot would actually rather use eyesight to fly. But they can fly blindfolded because echolocation gives them a good understanding of their surroundings. Bulls don't hate the color red, it's actually the movement of the cape that makes them turn up. A pissed off bull will charge at a black or white cape the exact same way because equality. But the reason they use a red cape is to hide the bloodstains from the bull so people watching don't realize how brutal and violent this sport actually is. Lions don't pretend to be hurt by the bites from their cubs to encourage them. Lions often yawn to show irritation, so this isn't a father building confidence, it's Mufasa about to backhand the lights out of Simba. Goldfish do not have bad memories, they can actually remember up to 5 months and they can be taught to remember human faces. And they're accurate, one was able to pick out the right human face out of 44 possible options. I'll be teaching y'all for free, so if you learn something new today instead of tuition, I'll happily take an Instagram follow. Why some of the most OP animals went extinct, Part 2. At 60 feet, Leviathan would have manhandled any megalodon and run the ocean the way Goodell runs the NFL, with an iron fist and a foundation of disrespect. They actually got clapped for the same reason as Megalodon. When nature turned on the AC and the oceans got colder, it actually lowered the amount of animals they depended on for food. Not only did the cooling event of the Miocene discontinue almost its entire menu, a new challenger approached. The arrival of animals like killer whales was the last nail in the coffin and it got outcompeted into non-existence. Mammoths are the opposite because when the temperatures went up, so did their time. When forests started replacing the grasslands they were used to, their numbers were down bad and they were down worse. With less mammoths around, these walking shag carpets started shagging their own cousins the Alabama way. They were so inbred that their DNA and genes fell apart, causing infertility, diabetes, and an inability to smell flowers. Imagine rawing your cousin and now your neph's son can't smell roses, that's how down atrocious they were. Smilodon was a saber-toothed chico that hunted giant sloths, deer, and bison which disappeared at the end of the last ice age. Less food meant it was wraps for our boy Diego. They also reportedly got hunted by an even more vicious and unforgiving predator, and here's what they allegedly look like. Top 5 animals that did not skip leg day. Yes, an animal with no legs made the list because the anaconda is one big muscle. Humans have 600 muscles where the snake can have up to 15,000, which is why they can perform soul evictions with just a hug. Number 4 are zebras because they have the strongest kick of any animal. With 3,000 pounds of force, they can skull punt your head or wig split Mufasa. Nature gave them prison stripes because they're always a flex away from a life sentence. Number 3 are horses because if they weren't good-natured, every Twitter bio would be full of initials. Some draft horses can pull 8,000 pounds, a whole tank with legs. Number 2 is the Indian guard because his 3,300 pound beef bicep with legs is a walking vibe check. You know you don't skip leg day when even your calves are ripped. Even in steak form, they would give your jaw arthritis. Number 1 will always be tigers. They can clap guards and they can drag an adult cow over a mile. A turned-up Tony has an alleged paw swipe of 18,000 pounds and getting Mike Tyson by a tiger would 100% factory reset your soul. They don't skip leg day, they are leg day. Also, I noticed some of y'all comedians calling me allergic to leg day on Instagram. Joke's on you. You see how legs is highlighted? In 2 months my calves are gonna have calves because fitness coach gets me right without even leaving my bedroom. Just you wait.
That most definitely exist, but I refuse to acknowledge their existence based on principle.
The video inspired me to speak my truth, so here's 4 animals that disturb me on an emotional level. First is the walrus because something about a 2,200 pound blubber ball with ice picks for teeth I do not trust. I'm not afraid of them, but I definitely wouldn't be able to make eye contact with this thing. Also, they put polar bears in coffins and we don't even talk about it. But if I'm being honest, there's only one reason I feel this way. If you remember this cartoon, probably remember this. This bastard wrecked me spiritually. I don't know why anyone thought it was okay to show kids. This is the Marabou Stork because I do not approve of their vibe. Nicknamed The Undertaker because I'm pretty sure they snatch souls. They're 5 feet tall with a 10-foot wingspan, apparently they murk children. It does not help matters that they look like an STD with a beak. Look at this massacre and tell me they're not malicious intent with wings. Next is a telescope fish because they're way too try-hard. Nature was trying to prove a point here and I don't approve of it. But number 1 is definitely this Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic looking demon. Everything about them is unsettling, from the clogged shoe beak to the soul-sapped eyes to the fact that they sound like a machine gun. Always look like they're planning something malicious. Worst part is they're actually sweet around humans, but I'll never trust this Jurassic reject. Even the babies look like the brood of Lucifer. Here are some facts about lions you didn't know. They're the only cats that roar together, and they'll do it as a group for up to 40 seconds to establish their territory and make every heart in a 5-mile radius consider retirement. Lionesses have 2 hunting positions. You have the fastest ones called the wings, which guide the prey towards the lions in the middle, called the centers. This strategy has a hunting success rate of 33%. But the worst time to get hunted is during a rainstorm. Lions can basically see in the dark and the noise of wind would make it impossible to hear them coming, so this is when they catch their most bodies. They could accidentally lick your skin off because their tongue contains papillae designed to scrape meat off bones. Papillae is also the same stuff turtles have in their mouths. They're freak athletes that can weigh 400 pounds, sprint at 50 miles per hour, leap 36 feet, and their triceps are top 5. They have one weakness though, and it's that they can only run in a straight line, which is why they get ankle snatched by gazelles. The males may be in charge, but the females will check them, and the fastest way for that to happen is if they don't like how rough he's being with the cubs. Lionesses have also been known to gang up on and murk elderly lions if they feel they're too old to run the pride. Sometimes lionesses grow manes and they'll start acting like males, scent marking and humping other females. It's one thing we got wrong about lions, they're actually queen of the jungle. This is why some of the most OP animals went extinct. Gigantopithecus was the closest thing to Bigfoot we ever got, and at 10 feet tall, 600 pounds of disrespect, they should have dominated like a shack of the jungle. So why did they die? 2 reasons actually. He was a picky eater and he was too swole for his own good. They ate almost nothing but fruit, but when their forest shrank, they never switched up their diet. That and the fact that this behemoth required ridiculous amounts of food every day to live meant he starved to death out of stubbornness. Only a picky eater would rather tap out of life than try something new. Quetzalcoatlus was a flying violation, but they got shafted too because there was a mass extinction and nobody was safe. Most of the animals they ate got cut for plot development, and with most of its menu cut down, they also became a memory. They couldn't get enough food to survive, and their massive size ended up hoeing them in the end. It's like having the biggest car on the block. It might be cool to look at, but when gas prices are up, so is your time. What if I told you the reason Megalodon went extinct is still alive? The Meg basically got its chain snatched by great whites of today because it got outcompeted into oblivion. And when it got colder, its range shrunk but competition went up. Its normal prey disappeared and got replaced with faster, smaller prey. The world was iPhone 12 and this Walkman of a shark got shelved. No, they're not still alive. Top 5 worst animal births you'll be glad you'll never have. Number 5 is the elephant, because how would you like to be knocked up for 22 months just to give birth to a 300-pound baby? That's 660 days of maternal hell, and no amount of tax breaks or child support will ever make that okay. Number 4 is the termite queen, because she can give birth every 15 seconds for 10 years straight, and on a good day she can pop out 30,000 eggs. I don't care how tough you think you are, your kitty would look like a flat tire after day 1. Number 3 is the kiwi bird, for the violation that is this picture. This New Zealand bird has to push out an egg that's 20% of its size. You're probably wondering, so that's like a 160-pound woman birthing a 32-pound child, and if you're crossing your legs at the thought, I don't blame you, that is horrible. A nuclear bomb to the waist down would do less damage. This is the nonsense they have to deal with compared to emus and ostriches. Hyenas at number 2 might surprise you, but wait till you see number 1. Females have a pseudo-penis they give birth from, and yes, it's as bad as you think. A first-time mother will die if her cub gets stuck, and 60% of cubs will suffocate because they can't break free. Only way out is by splitting the pseudo in half. Number 1 is the sea louse, because first she gets dragged into a dungeon and gets Cosby'd by the male. Then her babies shoot through her and split her body in half. Basically gets reverse Casey Anthony for her troubles. So you remember the whole debate where it was like, who would you rather fight, 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? Where there's an easy answer, but the reason why is, let's get into it. First of all, 100 tiny horses would be death by 1,000 bites, but death would be a lot better than what the duck would do to you. You see, ducks often confuse humans for other ducks, which is why ducklings can imprint on human caretakers. But here's where it would get interesting. Large birds like ostriches and emus have been known to find humans attractive, and they will even ignore members of their own species to flirt with them. And this is exactly what this looks like. So if ducks were the size of horses, they would take one look at us and choose love, not war. But you do not want to be loved by a duck. They evolved the corkscrew phallus, literally designed to make them better at cosbying each other. And if ducks are anything, they're persistent, because they will grape with a silent G another duck to death and then proceed to grape the dead body too. I forgot to mention the biggest duck Peter was about 17 inches, do not ask me how I know that. So 100 duck-sized horses would be bad. But a horse-sized curly fry flaunting feathery Bryce Walker is a check you do not want to cash, because it would literally be your ass. I just want to say for the record, this video was not fun to make. You have to separate a male guinea pig from his family after 6 weeks, because not only will he try to get with his own sister, he'll make moves on his own mother. It's not an accident, guinea pigs can recognize their family members through scent, he just doesn't care. Guinea pigs don't talk shit, but they sure do eat a lot of it. They do this so they can maximize the amount of nutrients they can get from their food, so they basically eat the same meal multiple times. Remember that next time you kiss them. Female pigs can die if they don't give birth when they're young, because after 8 months their pubic bones get fused in place, and when this happens it's basically like getting constipated with a child. If this happens to your guinea pig, she'll need a C-section, which will probably kill her. All the pain of being pregnant, and nature basically puts a wrench in your system. Unlike most mammals, guinea pigs can't produce their own vitamin C, and if they aren't given it, they get clapped by scurvy. Because guinea pigs get bent over in a genetic lottery. Their teeth never stop growing, and if they don't get checked, it can keep them from eating and they'll die of starvation. Guinea pigs are actually tragically bad at guinea pigging. They're basically born allergic to life. I say that because sometimes guinea pigs randomly just tap out of life, eyes open and everything. They're susceptible to strokes and heart attacks, and without guinea pig healthcare, they'd all be furry packs. 4 animal lies I'm getting really tired of seeing. No, penguins don't yeet each other into the jaws of death. What really happens is penguins are usually reluctant to enter the water. Eventually 1 or 2 might dive in and the rest will decide if they're going to follow them, but no, they don't push each other. Next, koalas do not get high on eucalyptus, although that would make a lot about them make sense. It's just that this genius of an animal insists on eating something that gives them 0 energy, which is why all koalas look like they just finished a 16-hour shift in hell. Koalas are a lot of things, but they are not druggies. Sloths do not mistake their own arms for tree branches and fall to their death, that is a myth. Fun fact, sloths have stronger grip than you do, and they're not stupid enough to grab their own arm. This whole thing started because baby sloths will instinctively cling onto their mothers. So when baby sloths get separated from their mothers, they'll panic and grab onto themselves. But they don't do this, and think about it, if sloths were slow and stupid, they definitely wouldn't be around. And last, elephants do not see us the same way we see puppies. I mean, even if they did, we wouldn't know because there isn't a machine big enough to scan their brains. Also, we've killed thousands of them, and after years of generational trauma, I'm pretty sure the last thing an elephant's thinking when it sees a hairless homicidal primate with a death stick is cute. Someone on Instagram said I couldn't ruin frogs, so now I'm gonna make it your problem. Major trigger warning. The surname toad is a frog that gives birth from its back, holding them under its skin until the tadpoles force their way out. I don't have trypophobia, but this image makes me want to Helen Keller myself so I can never be assaulted like this again. Frogs can't vomit like decent people, instead they spit their stomachs out their mouths to get rid of something they ate, and then they put it back in like nothing ever happened. Hairy frog will break its own bones, shove the bones out of its skin, and use them as claws. Sounds crazy, but if a guy came up to me, broke his wrist, and tried to slash me with his exposed bone, Usain Bolt would be the second fastest man. Titicaca frog looks like it went through 3 rounds of liposuction because the extra skin helps it absorb more oxygen, but it also makes him look like a Muppet's testicle. The poison dart frog can put 10 men in coffins, and they got their name because people would rub them on the end of darts and throw them at ops. If you got hit, you'd be paralyzed completely and left to die. The male Darwin frog will swallow children like a first-year sorority pledge. The babies will form in his vocal sac until he gives birth by vomiting his own children out. If you remove a frog's liver, it will explode. When scared, they puff themselves up, and without a liver to hold their organs in place, they tear their lungs and send their insides flying. The more you know.
My favorite animal is definitely a lion, because name one animal that could
Okay, but only because you asked. Exhibit A, at 2,000 pounds of roid rage in mouth, not only can a Cape Buffalo yeet a lion to Mufasa, look at the fear in my man's eyes. Lions are king, but what's a king to a black Air Force with horns? This bull isn't red, but it'll give any lion wings. Not to mention they'll literally circle lions and give them no other option than death. Exhibit B, at 9 feet 300 pounds with a Jurassic Park pedicure, ostrich can send a lion to the shadow realm with one kick. Crazy thing is, ostriches can outrun lions, so if it murks one, it's because it chose to. It had options, and the Serengeti Thunder Turkey still chose homicide. Exhibit C, Melman would have Mufasa'd Alex if he tried anything. Like I've said 1,000 times, giraffes can snatch a lion's headpiece with one well-placed kick. They straight up give the king of the jungle a royal execution in the form of decapitation. Against the hippo, a lion's only option is pain. That's what happens when a lion comes at a hippo's body. Tell me this picture doesn't have "you got the wrong one" energy. And last we have zebras, because this prison pony can easily split a lion's skull with one kick. Getting a season-ending injury from a zebra is most certainly a death sentence. Top 5 animals that used to be way worse. At number 5 we have penguins. There used to be a species of mega penguin that was tall enough to look a 6-foot man in the eyes. In fact, the biggest one grew to 6'8" and weighed 250 pounds. The whole penguin built like LeBron, I promise you'd want no problems. Number 4 are orangutans, because they're the closest living relative of Gigantopithecus, 10-foot 600-pound steroid Donkey Kong. They're probably vegetarian, so you wouldn't have to worry about them eating you. Doesn't mean they couldn't practice origami with your skeleton if you gave them a reason. Orangutans are cool, but a ginger Bigfoot is not it. Number 3 are rhinos for 2 reasons. Satanic unicorn nonsense right here. And this. Paraceratherium was a hornless rhino that grew to 30 feet, 44,000 pounds, and that's what you'd look like next to him. All of a sudden, this picture makes sense. It's just elephants evening the score after centuries of abuse. Speaking of elephants, I'll never understand how this acid trip left the drafts. This is Platybelodon, and it looks like an elephant platypus in a power tool, and this is what came out. Not to mention this used to exist. Number 1 is a Seriema, because they used to be terror birds. At 10 feet 300 pounds with a murder weapon for a nose, they would have been the biggest op to mankind. We would all be on shirts. Animals that look innocent until you see what their skull looks like. First we have the 2-fingered sloth, because they're cute and they look like they honestly deserve the world. But give them an x-ray and they suddenly deserve holy water and a baptism, because there's no reason a sloth should be able to hole punch a human hand. Those teeth rub up against each other and sharpen themselves, which is why a sloth doesn't have to be a magician to make your hand see through. Next we have the sea otter. It's one of those animals that can be mistaken for a plush toy if it does the mannequin challenge. Yo, the mannequin challenge was over 4 years ago. Damn. Yeah, sea otters are cute until you find out what's behind that baby face. Just like their cousin the wolverine, otters have a nasty bite. And they will not hesitate to use this vice grip on you. This man Terry Nutkins learned that the violent way when an angry otter made him go to bed with less fingers than he woke up with. The peccary is an innocent looking pig-like mammal. Its headpiece tells a very different story. The story of an animal capable of catching a murder charge with those tusks if it feels like turning up on you. There's a reason hunting them is an extreme sport. I love you, no question. This is True beauty lies within. Unless you're an elephant, because they got a whole cyclops in there. Top 5 worst animal siblings on this planet. Number 5 are wasps, because the females will gang up on the little brothers and eat them alive. The females grow faster and develop large jaws, which they use to make sure the brothers never make it to the family reunion. Number 4 is the cuckoo, because imagine your family adopts a kid and that same kid ends up pushing you off a building to your death. The mother cuckoo will lay her egg in another bird's nest. When the cuckoo hatches, it's blind but full of homicide and it'll push all the other eggs out of the nest, catching multiple murder charges on its first day of life. Number 3 are eagles of any kind. The stronger chick will steal food and beat and abuse the weaker chick until it taps out of life. Sometimes the homicidal Tweety will eat the body of its murdered sibling while the mother watches, which means almost every eagle you see is only alive because it had to pull a scar on Mufasa. Number 2 are definitely hyenas, because the moment they come out the mother, they immediately try to murk each other. They're born with their eyes open and a full set of teeth, which they use to lower the competition the Bundy way. The mother will try to break up the fights, but 25% of hyena cubs will never leave the den. And the females are the worst. Number 1 is a sand tiger shark, because they'll eat whatever siblings they can find while they're still in the mother's uterus. There's spawn killing and there's whatever this is. They have siblings, but they're still born an only child. That's some cold shit.